Welcome to another edition of Let's Get Our Hue-Man Back Again with your host, Robyn Priest. And well, Robyn, it's kind of a treat. We've got someone from Atlanta, Georgia. I was like, woohoo! No, and let's just say that we have a state director of peer support, I guess, as our special guest. So, Robyn, take it away. A little bit about this wonderful guest that you've brought today.
Hey everyone. Welcome to talking about getting our human back again. And as I'm always saying, this is our chance. The world has given us a chance to slow down enough and take a look at what's super important, to look at being with people rather than being busy all the time and running around. Just actually taking a moment to sit and be and truly be in conversation. And I'm super excited because I don't get to talk to Ros Hayes very often. And every time I do, it's soul food. And I wanted to bring Ros on to talk a little bit about her story because she just amazes me with what she's come through and what she's doing now, and inspiration and hope she gives to everyone she works with. So, Ros, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're down there in the warm weather.
Yes, thank you. First, just thank you for the opportunity to just be here with you. And just a little bit about me. I'll start with, my upbringing. I grew up I started out with two parents, in a house, middle class, everything, at least from the outside looking in appeared to be, pretty quote unquote normal, whatever that is. And I guess it really was because, what is normal? I grew up, I had, everything that I needed. I had most of what I wanted and things were good. But for me personally, I always felt a little different, and I always, I smile all the time. And the smile is something that I've had since before I even had teeth. And the thing about the smile that I learned is that as long as you're smiling, people assume that you're happy and that everything is going well for you. And they don't even ask, they just look, they make an assumption and they keep moving. And so, my story isn't so different from so many others where there were things, that happened in my household and things that happened to me as a child that shouldn't happen to children. And, out of that, I kind of just retreated back a little bit more, and allowed this smile just to kind of keep me safe in a way. It kept people off of me. And so, out of experiencing some of the trauma that I did as a child, I very early on got connected with drugs and alcohol, and I think I got into that kind of innocently too. I mean, no one plans on, having addiction take over their life. But that's what happened for me, and in the beginning, it started with, holidays and, you get my parents would give me a little bit of wine. Everybody's having wine. So here, kid, you can have a little bit of wine too. It's a special occasion, and then, my father, he drank beer and, we had a refrigerator out in the garage. So it was easy to sneak in that refrigerator. Nobody could see you and grab one of the little pony bottles of beer or whatever. And it just kind of snowballed from there, and progressed from one thing to the next, from, sipping and sneaking alcohol to, trying a little bit of marijuana and then on to heavier drugs. And that was the thing that just kind of tore my life apart. By the time I went to college, I was at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and things really internally started to kind of just come apart for me, and just looking for the place that I belonged and looking where I fit. I kind of gravitated to those folks that were doing the fun stuff. And, it was during that time, I was between my sophomore and junior year in college when I got introduced to um, crack cocaine. And that just blew my world apart. And for, the next 30 years, 25 years, it was an off and on, in and out of treatment, in and out of hospitals, trying to figure out how to put my life back together and identify who I actually was, because I felt like just not really being comfortable in my own skin was the thing, and I always had that feeling. And people liked me, but I always had this belief in the back of my mind that if they really knew me, they wouldn't like me. And so it was always about trying to keep up this kind of persona that kept people around, even though inside I still felt a huge disconnect. And, it again took several years of treatment and, different things, and finally, and it's cliche, it's a cliche, but you hear people say you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And, that was true. It was hard, living on the street, being homeless is not easy, thankfully it's not as cold where, where I am as it is where you are, because that would make it a lot harder. But, still there's some cold nights out there, and there's a lot of fear. I can remember staying up all night just walking because I was afraid to lay down. I was afraid to go to sleep because I felt like if I went to sleep, something really bad would happen to me. Somebody would attack me or something would happen to me, if I went to sleep. And so I would just stay up and walk for hours and hours and hours. And so eventually, I found myself in yet another treatment setting. And, it was during that time that someone introduced me to peer support. They told me I was working at a thrift store. And one of the customers, she actually would bring peers into the thrift store to shop and things. And she, somehow, you kind of know your tribe when you see them, and she was like, she just started having conversation with me, and she would come back and, making a point to talk to me. And through that, she introduced me to the Certified Peer Specialist Project here in Georgia and to an organization called the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network. And, I was blown away. I was like, you mean to tell me that there is this work that somebody will pay me for my experiences? For all the things that I'd been so ashamed of, the things I didn't want to tell anybody. Now you're telling me this stuff that I thought was just like the worst part of my life has value, and this can actually benefit someone else. I couldn't believe it. I was like, sign me up. And so I took the training, and it was pretty transformative, just to have such a different perspective. But really, at the core of peer support is connection, and folks, and acceptance, and that's what we all want. That's what we all need. We all want to find that place where we belong, and where, no matter what, it's okay, and folks can understand, and they can say, oh, me too, they can really understand, because of so much of been there, done that kind of thing, and the judgment is set aside, and there's true desire just to support you in doing better and support you in finding out like what is going to make you happy, and what it means to you to have a full meaningful life, and you just have people that are cheering for you and pulling you along and pushing you from the back, and just folks want to see you succeed. And it was just something that I knew I just wanted to be a part of. It's like, okay, this is for me. And I went to work in 2010 for the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network. I started working at their peer support, wellness, and respite centers. And I started there as a part-time employee. And within the first month, I got a full-time position. And then, like, within my first year and a half, I got promoted to assistant director of that center. And as things expanded for us, I got lots of opportunities just to try out different things and to find out, what I was good at. And as our program expanded, we went from 1 to 5, and unfortunately, because of funding during COVID time, we lost some money, so we're back to 4. But we opened 4 centers across the state of Georgia, and as that happened, or when that happened, I got promoted to be the statewide director for our peer support, wellness, and respite centers. And so it's been a wonderful journey. It really has. And since then, they're like, okay, well, statewide director, that doesn't really capture all that you do, because I got my fingers in lots of things. And one of the things that I love to do, and that Rob has given me opportunity to do, is facilitation. I love to facilitate trainings. And so I get to do a lot of that. And so now they're like, okay, we're going to give you a new title. You're just going to be the director of peer support. I'm like, wow, and so it just keeps getting better and better. Recovery is a gift, and the people that I've gotten to meet along the way that have just, been on my side and are always there. If all I need to do is make a phone call and there's somebody there on the other end of the line. And, I have opportunity to be that for others. I have opportunity to be the person, that they can call, and I get to see so many lives just changed, and people find hope, and they find, like I said, they find their tribe, and they get to like participate in life. Instead of kind of being a spectator on the sidelines and feeling like they have nothing to offer, people get to find their value and their worth and share it with the world. And it's a beautiful thing. So I just, count my blessings every day, even through COVID. My life is still good, and so I just, kind of hold on to that gratitude. So that's my story.
Wow, Robyn, I think between you and Roz, you're going to save the world.
That's our plan.
I think so.
Wicked plan.
So the relationship between the two of you, how did you meet? Robyn.
I met Roz at a conference in the US where there was, 500 people who all identified as having mental health issues. And it's like, I'm with my tribe. And I was running a session and met Roz afterwards. And then we just had this instant, oh, this feels cool. And so, yeah, Roz. And so, like, we were doing some workshops and training people to deliver this workshop called Peer Zone, and Roz got connected with me with that, and I went to Georgia and I ran training, and then I got to speak at the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network Conference. 600 people from around Georgia, all with their own experience of mental health, coming together and sharing their experiences, their stories, how they got through it. And it just, I get goosebumps even talking about that. And Roz and I just stayed connected because it feels like she's my peeps.
Yes, I think so. Roz, for you, how are things in Georgia? And talking about mental health, I mean, yes, we're in this pandemic, COVID, no one could have ever thought that we'd be living like this. How has that had an effect in Georgia?
I think, Georgia is not different when it comes to, the impact of COVID just exacerbating things that, were already there. Adding, stress on top of people's already, sometimes difficult and stressful lives. We have at the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network, much like we're doing now, we were able to convert things over to, Zoom and different virtual platforms to be able to continue to connect with folks and to be able to support folks in their wellness. I will say that, you know, um, staying on top of, systems and staying vigilant when it comes to support for folks who experience mental health challenges it's an ongoing thing. And like right now, what I see in the state, is a huge focus on, the opioid crisis. And of course that needs attention, but we hear the conversation about how COVID is impacting people's mental health, but we won't necessarily see the money coming to support services. And in fact, in the state of Georgia, unfortunately, we're doing some backward movement where, some money is being taken away from peer support services and, put into hospital beds. And that's just very disheartening. But, we remain hopeful and we continue to fight, because everybody has a right to, find their definition of recovery. And everybody has a right to, or at least to me, they have the right to participate fully in their lives and not be restricted and kind of boxed in. And so, the work that we do in peer support is just so important to be able to get that message of hope and recovery out and to show, the power of lived experience. Again, I get where you're coming from, and I can tell you that, that doesn't have to be all that there is for you. There's so much more. And, we're here to kind of walk alongside each other as we, figure out what it is that we want and where we want to go.
Wow. And I kind of think too, and this I guess goes to both Robyn and Roz, that peer support workers, the peer support worker could be that one person, right, that changes the life of someone living with either mental, health challenges or addictions. Or was that true for you, Roz? Or was there one person that you can say?
Yeah, I mean, there were several people, but the one person who introduced me to all of this, she changed my life. I didn't know what I was going to do. I hadn't heard of peer support. I was working in the thrift store, making minimum wage. And it was like, the first job I ever had when I was, say, 19 years old. Here I am at the age 40 and I'm making the exact same amount of money that I was making when I was 19, Thankfully that's not the case anymore. But yeah, there was this one person that took that interest and took that extra, minute to talk to me and to say, I see you, and I know who you are. And, she shared some things with me. And like I said, she continued to show up. She brought me the Certified Peer Specialist manual, and just that part of my journey was really amazing because, it's remarkable sometimes how when you set out on a journey, everything that you need kind of shows up when you need it, and that was the way that it went for me. And it continues to happen that way. Robyn forgot to tell you that when we first met at the conference in Memphis, when I first saw her, she was in an Elvis costume on stage in front of everybody. I'm like, this is somebody that's fearless,
Where is that suit? You should have this on, you should be wearing this on every episode. What are you thinking, Robyn?
I just, I rented it. I was the MC at this conference and I was in Memphis and it's like, I have to be Elvis. I've got that down pat. Like,
and to think that these people were taking you seriously.
What can I say?
Well, I think what I've learned from this is the importance of peer support for anybody that is struggling, and the more opportunities too, for people to share their stories. I want to thank you, Roz, for sharing your story, and wow, and I'm just going to say, girl power, all the way, girl power. Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you so much.
And then thank you to Robyn for making this connection, and We just got to get the word out. Maybe we should start our own convention, virtual convention.
Yeah.
Peer support workers from around the world.
I'm good to go.
on your next episode. Well, thank you so much, Roz. It was a pleasure meeting you, and stay in touch.
You. My pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you, Robyn.
Thanks, Tracy. Thanks, Roz.
Thank you, Rob.